Ask Mad Dog DeCurso if it's real or fake. Golden Greek told us the giant goon Dickoff, El Toro, the Grunt Brothers too. The Wild Samoans got something crazy going. They're gonna be going after you. Wrestling tonight. Everything is bigger than life. Wrestling tonight. Rock and roll and wrestling tonight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Tonight. I am your humble hardcore host, Mad Dog Butch. With me, as always, the destruction to my apocalypse. None other than Brace Beemer.
Yeah.
And joining us once again from the Comics, Beer, and Sci-Fi television show, none other than wrestling fan extraordinaire, The Q.
How's it going? How's it going, everybody? How's it
Welcome
going?
back, Q.
Yeah,
Glad to
welcome
be back. Glad to be back.
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
And like always, whenever we have a special guest, I know you were a guest previously, but whenever we have a special guest, we like to present them with a special gift. And
You double dipping on us, Chief?
I'm double dipping. That's the only reason I came back for the gifts. Came back for the gifts. No.
Well, you wouldn't be the first.
So, sort of, I mean, this can be debated later, but someone that kind of fits our topic today, and it is a exclusive, Wrestling Crate exclusive Jake the Snake Roberts lapel pin.
Yes.
Look at that.
So,
Thank you.
there you go. Thank you for coming
Fancy
on the show.
schmancy.
Oh, man.
Look, it's got
Actually,
it's got the jewels on it and
I
everything.
know,
huh?
right? You guys actually
So-
don't know I am a huge fan of Jake the Snake. So that actually, I love that. Thank you.
All right, no problem. So, this week's topic obviously is going to be horror-ish wrestling gimmicks, and it seems like for almost as long as wrestling's been around, there's been horrific elements. I mean, in a way, it's kind of an easy way to get heat as a heel, or
Yes.
just, you know, if nobody's familiar with you, automatically you kind of got that persona. I just did want to mention a couple things. The MWO held their annual Halloween pay-per-view-ish thingamajig a couple weeks ago, right here in the ONTV studio. Trigger Slam 2019. You should. I believe they're still playing the replays on ONTV. If not, check it out on YouTube. There's a good match between a couple guys that would fit into our topic today. Creature feature John Campbell versus the ruler of Parts Unknown, Skulls. And I also wanted to mention
Skulls was just outside of my top 10, by the way.
Oh yeah, mine too. Yeah, I did think about putting them into my top 10. I got a lot of honorable mentions. I will say that. And then just real quick, a guy that did not make my list. I doubt he's going to be on your list, but possibly. A guy that is doing a great horror-ish gimmick right now, and that is Bray Wyatt as the Fiend. And talk about over. This gimmick is like crazy over.
Is it really?
Oh yeah,
It really is.
Because he did a good job with his other one.
Well,
you know,
I like the whole Bray Wyatt with Sister Abigail. I think
I did too.
WWE screwed it up as they do everything. So.
I think they did as well, and a lot of people believe that they're already screwing the Fiend up because they pretty much not immediately, but you know he did win a couple matches, and you know he's showing up just I think up until the point of the Hell in the Cell match that he had with Seth Rollins, they've been doing good with him. But people were highly upset at the outcome of that.
Well,
I don't know if they wanted him to win the belt, but apparently now they're saying that he suffered a concussion during the match. I don't know if people are upset that he didn't win the belt or upset because it's a Hell in the Cell match and normally it's no holds barred, anything goes, and the referee ended up disqualifying him originally, disqualifying Seth Rollins, and then then they later said that it was no contest or something, or that he had just stopped the match. But,
They disqualified a Hell in a Cell match.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, if he's losing, is that affecting him? I mean,
Well, he
because
had-
I think-
losing isn't a bad thing.
But
Well-
he hadn't lost
Right.
as the Fiend
Yeah, I think
until this, and he didn't really lose.
I mean, is he still
right.
over though?
He's over
he's
huge.
over
Okay.
huge, but
Well,
I think
I mean,
I look at it like this: the way the match ended, it was one of the moves where he should have won.
Huh.
Remember when Brock Lesnar first came back and he was just dominating everybody and he beat Cena. Like if he would have lost to Cena, that would have been stupid. Like you got this guy who's just destroying everybody and then he ends up losing. That's exactly what it was like.
Huh.
He's taking out everybody from legends to current superstars. Like everyone's afraid of him. All this other crap. Blah 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 blah. And then you have him lose.
to Reigns, right?
Yeah.
No.
Seth Rollins.
Oh, okay, Rollins.
Yeah,
Um,
but you have
But I
him
mean,
lose.
then
But he
again,
didn't-
I'm just taking the other side here. That's a classic wrestling deal where you get a guy over, you bang him over everybody, and then and then you get him trucked by whoever you're really trying to get over.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, and there's going to be a rematch, obviously, but I think that no matter what the outcome, I don't know if they called an audible or not. I haven't heard if they had to call an audible. That's what it seems like
I'm
because
thinking so.
because now rumors or reports are coming out that he suffered a concussion during the match. That
Right.
makes sense.
Well,
The
yeah,
way that it went down.
if that's true.
So right, if that's true.
that could be just them trying to cover themselves.
But I thought the same thing. I thought the way the push that he was given up till that point,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be kind of like when the Undertaker first came in.
Yeah.
And beat Hogan. You know, because even if you just win the belt and lose it a month later at the pay-per-view,
It don't matter.
whatever.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
You're wasting to me. You're wasting that build up.
I just question if Vince McMahon really sees Bray Wyatt as a world champion.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either. And I don't think he sees a character like this who is like super hot, super over as world championship material.
Yeah, maybe he figures they don't need it, kind of like the Undertaker.
But then again,
Yeah.
we've seen them change their
Right.
The fans kind of get them to change their view before, like with Daniel Bryan, when Vince didn't see Daniel Bryan as the
Yeah.
main eventer, and the fans kind of forced that. We may be seeing a situation like this again, because if they have the rematch and the Fiend loses now,
It's gonna
I don't know.
be-
There might
yeah.
be close
Well-
enough to the closest thing you're going to see for a riot from the WWE fans.
Well, yeah. It's funny because I
Not
guess,
a real
you know,
riot.
not a real, but you know, with AEW coming out now, they're gonna have to be really careful with everything they do because there's
Well-
another option now.
And that's one thing that I didn't mention. The fans chanted AEW.
Yeah.
And we want refunds.
Yeah.
And there was no hiding it, what they were saying.
Wow.
But that AEW chant was strong. I will say
That's
that.
weird because like part of that with, I know we're not talking about the topic at hand, but with
yeah.
Well, we'll get to
AEW, my thought was, because we were talking about this before the show,
Yeah.
the AEW, and if they're going after the same fans that are the WWE fans, they're not going to survive.
No.
Because that's they could survive, but they're not.
I don't think
That
they're
that
going
slice
after
is too
it.
small because there's only like
But I don't.
No, I agree, but I think
how
what
many
AEW
slices can that pie be split up into?
I think what AEW is doing, they're going after the fans that are actually fed up with the product of WWE.
That's
Right.
what, that's
and
what
most
it
of them are still watching though. That's my point. When
Yeah,
you look
but they're
at
to the point like they're on the verge to where it's not gonna take a lot for them to jump ship.
yeah,
Like
I'll
you
bet.
have those diehard hardcore people that are just gonna watch regardless.
yeah.
You know, and I don't think they're trying to compete with WWE. I think they're just trying to actually put on a product of what I think they're trying to listen to the fans. Where WWE and Vince McMahon is still just like, I know better than you.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me as well. But I will say this too. Just again off topic, but that week that AEW debuted, I believe that week or the next week the NWA show, NWA Power, the YouTube show debuted. SmackDown moved to Friday nights. So basically, every night of the week now, there's some form of professional wrestling that you can watch.
That hasn't happened.
So that's
in forever.
No,
Man.
So no matter what, that's a good thing in my book.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We're all winning at
Yeah,
this
you
point.
look at it. Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
all winning. If
It's more out there. Maybe somebody will do it right. You know.
yeah, and it's just all it takes is for one person to have a small chance of slaying the beast.
Yeah.
And WWE get there.
Hey,
They've been complacent for all these years because he beat the competition.
yeah.
Once you win, there's no point of, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like you won and then somebody stepped up to the plate. No. You won and you destroyed the whole competition.
Yeah. Those
So-
other groups, they need somebody to get hot.
Exactly.
They need somebody to get over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they do.
They can't hype the whole roster like
No.
everybody's been doing the last 20 years. They gotta
Man.
find somebody and put the spotlight on them. Have them be the man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get to our topic. Like I said, there's there's been plenty of horror, spooky. Doesn't necessarily have to be horror, but whatever you want to call it, inspired wrestling gimmicks, almost from the beginning of pro wrestling. I tried to find the very first example. The closest I could find of was Maurice Tillet, the French Angel.
Yeah.
And
Maurice
so,
Tillet.
yeah. So he was one that they cited, but there's a guy that obviously I didn't know about this guy because it was in Argentina, Titans in El Ring. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, he did one of the first mummy gimmicks, and this guy
I've heard of that before.
it's La Momia, but he is like so over. And this, I have no doubt that Vince McMahon Jr. was a fan of this somehow because there was such over the top gimmicks. They had, this was like in the maybe 50s, but I know the 60s, and it went for a while.
Yeah.
So then later you had like a dark mummy also that challenged the regular mummy, because I think the first mummy was like a bad guy at first, but then he got over, so they bring in the dark mummy to like fight him.
Okay.
But I mean there were so many different gimmicks. So I mean one of them was like an alien that would come down from a spaceship way back then.
Wow.
I forgot
That sounds
all
like
about that.
that sounds like 80s WWF right there.
But so speaking of 80s WWF, I will start off with my very first. And just to clarify, these are not necessarily the greatest.
No.
They're not the greatest horror-inspired gimmicks of all time. And some of mine, are debatable as far as horror goes. But like I said, it's more about, actually, if I break it down, it's probably more about gimmicks that might have scared the crowd somewhat.
Right.
So my number one is a guy that I was a huge fan of, and it is none other than the Missing Link. To the point where I created in middle school a Missing Link paper mache head.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That I had for years and years and years.
Really?
I finally got rid of it when I moved quite a few years ago. But
That's a crying shame.
anyway, I know I'm kicking myself.
That had a
for doing
spot
it.
in my house if I would have known.
But anyway, so the Missing Link was Dewey Robertson, a guy that wrestled kind of technical style up until a certain point. Had somewhat success, being himself.
Yeah.
And then at one point decided to, and I believe it started in Mid-South, he called himself Max the Missing Link, painted his face, shaved his head. He still kind of wrestled at that point, but then he kind of morphed it into where all he really did was, he'd do like body slams and knee drops, but almost all of his offense was headbutts.
Yeah.
Nice.
He'd hold the back. He grew his hair out like in the back, and so he'd hold the back of his head and headbutt people.
And other objects.
And
Chairs,
and
posts,
objects, chairs,
turnbuckles.
Yeah. So there's like a few guys throughout the years that I thought about this that I would just be glued to the screen when they were on there, and he was one of these guys that did that for me.
Yeah.
His tenure in WWF did not last that long. He was originally managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan has gone on record as saying he was not a fan of the gimmick because he was like, well, how does this guy buy a cup of coffee? You know,
Right.
Which I can sort of see, but either way, you know, it seemed like there was big things in the future for him in the WWF originally. He got a lot of heat from the crowd. The whole way that they worked the gimmick with Bobby Heenan trying to control him was fantastic. He like ate up a bunch of prelim guys, and then behind the scenes he had some issues. So then he kind of went down the crowd and then was gone. And then he wrestled in a lot of the more regional promotions for the rest of his
Sports
career.
Illustrated
That's
fold out too.
And that's why WWE signed him, because he was not signed by WWE at the time, but they did an article in Sports Illustrated, the first pro wrestling article I believe that they had done, or at least that they'd done in a long time. So there was like the very first page is like a fold out and it's the missing link. So they're like,
nice.
oh, well, we got to sign
Yeah, that
this.
was a cool poster. I used to have that.
So we got to sign this guy. So, Brace, what are your thoughts on the missing link?
Oh, he was a classic. He didn't. I thought about him, but I didn't put him in my top 10. He was like one of those guys that was on the, I don't know, like right on the borderline for being like because I tried to keep it more like scary. You know, he's like a Neanderthal or the missing link, a Neanderthal or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, he was great. Like I remember the first time I saw him, I think I had seen the Sports Illustrated cover first, you know? So, and you hear about him in the magazines, you see all these, you know, pictures instead of, you know, going on the internet, you got to go buy these magazines.
Yeah.
So when I finally saw him, I was like stoked, and he didn't disappoint, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was good. He was a hell of a gimmick there.
It was. Q, are you familiar with the missing link?
I am. It's funny. I just looked him up. I've seen him before.
Okay.
Not seen too many matches, but I understand why.
Okay.
He's your number one.
Yeah. I will say this just to get it out there. Q is quite a few years younger than us, so his list I assume is going to vary quite a bit from ours. I will just say that.
Quite a bit. No.
So, Brace Beemer, who is your number one favorite horror-inspired gimmick of all time?
A gentleman by the name of Jason the Terrible.
He's your number one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just okay.
And it's odd. I mean, I saw a bunch of his matches afterward, you know, because we couldn't see him then.
Right.
But he was a guy who took on the Jason, the Friday the 13th gimmick, and he started it out in Calgary, Stampede Wrestling, and he got over big there. He was in feuds against Owen Hart, you know, Chris Benoit, Brian Pillman. He bled all over the place.
And made them bleed.
Yeah.
More importantly.
Yeah, and he was a good worker, you know, looked like he was safe, he was athletic, and he was a big guy, too.
And this was Carl Moffat?
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, where I started to see him, and you too, Mad Dog, is he was in Calgary, and you'd see him, like, you heard about him in magazines, you know, the newsstands or whatever, and then we were watching the international wrestling out of Montreal, Canada, on CBC via George Cannon. And they started hyping Jason the Terrible. This guy, they had this music video. He had the hockey mask just like Jason, and he's just beating people up, giving headbutts. People are bleeding all over the place. And I was like just enthralled.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even a big fan of like the horror genre,
but
you know.
That made you,
But it was just so cool. And then just, you know, so I'm waiting, and then all of a sudden he shows up, and it's not the same guy. And he was horrible, you know. But just the whole thing like stuck with me, like the video, and then, you know, like later on I was able to watch him.
I actually posted that video. Okay, on my page.
Yeah. So Jason the Terrible, number one, and he was a I don't know the right word. I can't think of the right. I used to wrestle as a guy named Treacle who took a lot of what was to be Jason the Terrible mannerisms.
Yes.
but I didn't really know because all I had was one minute video to go off of.
Right.
But that was enough,
Right.
you know, to kind of get the mindset. But yeah, Jason the Terrible started in 1983, finished up in 2004. Brought the gimmick back and worked some like indie shows. Worked over in Japan a little bit.
The gimmick is passed on to different people.
Right, sure.
But
right, yeah, a lot of people have done that. Like over in Japan, somebody, you know.
And I will say
Jason
this.
the Terrible.
I will say this. You customized a LJN figure into him at one point as well.
Yeah,
if I remember.
and a smaller one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. He was started out in Vancouver, All-Star Wrestling with Al Tomko and those guys out there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Nice pick. Q, probably not familiar with this guy.
Not familiar.
Oh, quick note.
But-
Barry Orton was with Barry O from old WWE fame.
Yeah.
He was with Jason the Terrible in Calgary.
As I believe the Zodiac.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Under a
See,
mask.
I
so.
say I consider myself a wrestling fan till I come on this show. No,
Well, you just never seen these guys.
I just
you know?
never seen these guys.
I mean,
These are-
yeah. I mean, come on.
but
It's,
I leave here with a wealth of knowledge, and I always leave.
well, that's what
with-
we try.
Yeah,
That's
with
what we try to do.
with a wealth of knowledge to go see these guys, and that's what being to me a wrestling fan. I like watching the older matches.
They're all available on the internet.
Of course, you can always find them. So
All right, Q. I have a feeling I know who your number one is going to be. I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going
Okay.
to let you let us know. And
My number
I think
one.
you're dressed like him.
Actually, my number one is he's still my favorite wrestler to this day, and that is Kane.
Really? Okay.
Kane.
All right. That surprises me.
Kane. I still remember when Kane debuted. Like
That was an
fresh
awesome debut.
in my mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like to me, that is like one of the greatest debuts. Just coming out, and I remember probably Kane's alive, Undertaker. Kane's alive, and you're like, what's Kane? What is Kane? And he comes out and rips the door off the.
Yes.
Phenomenal, and as you know, he's going to have I don't like the way they've taken the gimmick. Sometimes
No.
I don't like the whole. I was not a fan of the hell yes, hell no, team hell no. I did not like that.
Too funny for that.
Yeah, I don't. Kane's always done his best work when he's just been that monster that you just can't stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wasn't a fan when he took his mask off, but I liked it because it returned him to that character. Because if you remember before that, he had started. He was a fan favorite, but he was more like, yeah, that was like after the Canaanite promo and all that other stuff, and he won the Intercontinental title, and he was with RVD and celebrating. I didn't like that Kane either.
No.
So I liked, even though I didn't like him, like I said, I didn't think that was the wrong direction, but it took him back to his roots. That feud with Shane McMahon was really good. I like the feud he had with Edge, but I just am a huge fan. Then I'm sorry, I keep going back to the ones I don't like.
There's been a lot of them.
There's been a lot of them, and it's like the one when it was just recent where he would be the corporate Kane, and then he could switch to the Demon Kane. I didn't like that. To me, it was like that was stupid. I think Kane is one of the most him and Mark Henry are like two of the most underutilized superstars in history. I feel like he should have more than technically 3 world heavyweight championships, but I don't count.
Yeah,
the
well, that's such a
ECW.
strong gimmick, though.
Yeah.
You didn't really need
You don't
it,
think?
you know?
I mean, I don't count the ECW title when he won it. That shit.
Yeah.
I mean, no one counts WWF ECW. That just doesn't count.
Right.
So you were a world champion one time for one day.
Yeah.
And then I felt like they just gave you the world heavyweight title because Undertaker was hurt. Like Undertaker and Edge were hurt, and they needed somebody to carry the belt, and they didn't want to give it to Rey Mysterio anymore.
Right.
So like, and then you feuded with Rey Mysterio, which you could have feuded with so many other people being the world champ. Like you could have feuded with so many other people being the world champ, and I applaud Rey Mysterio for being a small champion and all that, but I do not like Rey Mysterio, and I think Rey Mysterio going up against a monster Kane is a waste of his time. But Kane is my number one. I'm sorry.
All right. No, good pick. He did not make my list, but I will say this. There's absolutely no reason, besides the way that they handled him throughout the years, that he should – there's no reason that he should not be up there with The Undertaker.
No,
as far as but they messed with him. It's almost like somebody was behind the scenes whispering in somebody's ear, trying to sabotage him.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard that.
But that's what it feels like.
Negative, but that's almost what it seems like.
Yeah.
It's almost like they did to him what they'd done to the Big Show.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah. Every time he gets that momentum, it's like, let's cut it.
Well, you got to figure, though, he's different than The Undertaker, too. I mean, just even as
he's
a
different.
personality.
He's different, but coming in as Undertaker's brother and doing all that stuff in the beginning.
If you would have just left that Kane alone.
Yeah.
I understand, like I said, I didn't agree with taking off the mask, but I accepted it because it took him back to where he should have been.
Yeah.
But you would have never had to taken the mask off
and you
would have never changed his character.
And you didn't really ever have to make him talk either.
No.
I'm sorry. But
they did the gimmick where
right. That was cool in the beginning, but then they had to go further to make it where like, oh, that's just in your head. You really can talk, and I mean whatever. But I'm just saying, there's things that they could have done to kept him as strong as they've kept The Undertaker over the years and protected him the way that they've protected The Undertaker over the years.
Yeah. And
I think that Kane should have beat Undertaker at the first WrestleMania that they wrestled at.
I agree with that. That to me is
just
another
to keep the feud going.
Well, that's another Fiend moment. He came in so strong, and then he lost.
Yeah.
And this was before they were even thinking about the Undertaker's streak.
Exactly.
It wasn't even a streak then. It was just
right.
It was just we're just gonna have Undertaker beat him.
Right.
So you burned him, then you beat him. Oh wow, that's cherry on the top right there.
Exactly. All right, Brace, your thoughts on Kane? Did he make your top 10?
Yeah, Kane. I'll just go to him. He made my number 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he is in my top 10.
All right, cool.
Started out in St. Louis, Missouri area.
Dr. Isaac Yankum.
Worked his way to Smoky Mountain Wrestling as Unabomb. He fought The Undertaker in Smoky Mountain at that Night of the Legends show.
He did.
Yeah.
He was another one. As the Unabomb, he had a hockey mask as well, didn't he?
Yep.
In the beginning?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also in USWA, he had the name Doomsday, so he's always kind of been like a big monster. And also he was called the Christmas Creature.
Yeah, at one
in
point.
USWA.
Yeah, that's right.
I heard a rumor. Isn't it true? I'm not sure, but I know you guys would know. Didn't he play The Undertaker when The Undertaker went against?
That was Brian Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
And he wrestled in Puerto Rico for World Wrestling Council 94 to 95.
Okay.
I don't even know that. I don't think I've seen any of his stuff from down there. I wonder if he bled.
Puerto Rico? I haven't either.
Yeah.
He was a jobber in WCW at one point too.
Yeah, I think he had one match in there. He lost to Sting
or something like that. Yeah.
He's had a long, rough road.
But then from 95 until present, I mean, that's one of the most over.
I mean, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Characters.
But just think about it. He could have been his career. When you see Kane, they're gonna say Kane is a 3-time world champion. Does that really dignify his career?
No, for me it doesn't, because I don't picture him as a champion. Like if I were booking, I wouldn't put him as champ. Maybe like they did the one night to help get him over, to put somebody else over.
Really?
But, yeah, I wouldn't have him champ.
I mean, he's another guy that probably didn't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
But the way that he came in and won the belt right off the bat. They could have easily continued with that.
And then he didn't have to lose it the next night.
No.
To me that's not. That's like when they gave it to Mankind and then had Triple H beat him the next night. There's just no purpose.
Yeah, that was
that.
pretty. Yeah.
There's no purpose for that, because you don't want to lose the belt to this person. You go out there, you do your job, you lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to me, there's some people who didn't even hold the belt, like Piper.
But he's another guy that didn't need. He's another guy that didn't need it.
I understand that.
A lot of those guys didn't want it back then, because it was a hassle to carry that through the airports and carry it around with you. Honestly, a lot of those guys did not want titles.
And when you're holding that title, there's a lot of PR stuff you have to do too.
And I 100% agree. And
you get a young guy like that. He's not really.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have won the belt then.
Yeah. You can't have Kane out there.
Yeah.
telling kids to say no
worked,
to drugs.
you know?
So.
Exactly. All right. Let's go on to my number 2, which is another guy that can be debatable if it's really a horror gimmick, but like I said, it's more of somebody that scared the crowd, and definitely the way that he wrestled could scare a crowd. And it is Abdullah the Butcher.
I was gonna see. Okay.
Now, a lot of people say that he just ripped off the Sheik, and I don't have the Sheik on here. You could throw the Sheik in totally with the same thing, but I tried to pick people that I saw wrestle when I was growing up, and the Sheik kind of was still around, but I didn't really see a whole lot of them. So that's why I pick Abdullah the Butcher over the Sheik. And if anybody's unfamiliar with Abdullah the Butcher, he probably bled and made more people bleed more than anybody, and it was and people were scared of him when he came into the ring.
Yeah,
I mean, had wrestled all over the place, had legendary feuds with Bruiser Brody, and wrestled in Japan, just
all over
the place. Yeah, just had a long career and was pretty much on top the whole time. Was in, unfortunately, and this is kind of one thing that sticks out as a negative for his career, but what can you do? I'm sure he was getting paid a lot of money. But in the inaugural WCW Chamber of Horrors match, where you had to lose the match being electrocuted in the electric chair, he is the one that took the fall.
I'm surprised he did. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised he did as well.
Yeah,
they probably paid him well.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, they probably did. You gonna tell Abdullah the Butcher you're not gonna give him his money?
And we've talked about Abdullah the Butcher on here before. So, Brace, did Abdullah the Butcher make your top?
No, he didn't. He was kind of like another guy where, it was like, if I'm going toward the Abby type, I got a couple guys in there that I just like that type better than Abby, but he was like on the outside, looking in,
and like
outside
I said,
of the top
some
10.
of mine are,
and the same with the Sheik. I just kind of didn't want to
as
put those two on there,
Right. Yeah. No, I totally understand. Like I said, I mean, some of mine are kind of, can go either way.
What a great character. I mean, how long did that gimmick last? From
right?
like the mid '60s until
the 90s,
even
early 2000s,
early 2000s,
so,
Even I know Abdullah the Butcher, like he was, and I was gonna put him on here, but it was that gray area, and I wasn't really sure. Right. But he's my honorable. Like if the list kept going, he would be like right there.
Oh heck yeah!
Oh yeah!
Heck yeah!
All right.
I'd be dropping the big elbow.
Yeah.
All right, Brace. Who is your number 2?
Number 2 is Kamala, the Ugandan giant, the Ugandan warrior, debuted in 1978 as Sugar Bear Harris. Wrestled as Jim Harris.
Yeah.
He was in the Mississippi Mauler in Europe, and he wrestled all the way until 2010.
Yeah,
Kamala,
really?
one of the greatest gimmicks ever, because like if you didn't know, I mean, I knew better, but you look at him and you're like, man, that guy could really be that way, kind of.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You know he's not, but he did it so well.
Well, no.
And for all of those years, and he never like wavered. He probably did later on when he came back to WWE.
Well, they made him a comedy act.
Yeah, sure.
At some point in WWE as well.
Oh, here's an interesting note about this, about Kamala. So I thought of Kamala, and I'm like, he's probably on number 2. So I did a search in Google on him. And I'm going through page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. No Kamala. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And every page in Google had Kamala Harris, the politician from California.
Wow.
And no mention of Kamala the wrestler.
Really?
Yeah, through 10 pages. And so I go to Bing and I go to DuckDuckGo. Boom, right away. Like both of them have like, Kamala Beach Resort. They have Kamala the wrestler, Kamala Harris. Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it was unbelievable. I stopped at page 10 and I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Well, I have typed in Kamala GIFs in the past.
Yeah.
And the same thing. where it took me a while before I could find the real
Really?
Kamala.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it would all be Kamala Harris, and so
So Kamala, he was he's for sure in my top 50 of all time. You know, I think he was on my last time you were here. We did the top 10 black wrestler list.
Yeah.
He was on there.
Yep.
Yeah,
he was on mine too.
Yeah.
I think
he was
on mine
he was
as
the
well.
man.
Yeah.
He was brought in the Memphis area, CWA, via JJ Dillon, and they did this video of him coming out of like the swamp or the jungle, if you will.
The
and
jungle.
I
Which I
mean,
think was Bill Dundee's backyard.
well, it was on Jerry Jarrett's farm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I knew it was
So
something like
so
that.
they made this video come out of him, and he was Sugar Bear Harris, and he wrestled down in the Southeast before, but people were just enthralled by this guy.
Yes.
And he debuted, sold out. They sold out like a 10,000 seat arena, him and Jerry Lawler. His like
Well, I will say even later
Debut,
on when
yeah.
he came back to WWF, him and Hogan were like selling out.
Yeah,
oh
they
yeah,
were selling
he
out,
sold
yeah.
out. He sold out everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
went to Mid South, World Class.
Yeah.
He was a huge name. Like
Yeah.
in the that
Because
would
that's
have
what
been
I
like
remember
mid
with him
'80s.
and
Yeah.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Q, did he make your top 10?
No, that was another one to me in that
Yes.
I didn't know how to play it, but
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was right on. I have him as an honorable mention because he was right on the outside
Yeah.
of mine too. But I loved Kamala. Kind of like Abdullah, he was a guy that just, I had to watch. If he was on there, he was a big deal.
Deal,
Back
yeah.
when we were growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big thing to
Yeah.
see Kamala wrestle.
Yeah, he did some sweet stuff with Andre the Giant too. Go out there and check that out on YouTube.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look
Like
that one up.
in Mid South. Yeah.
Because like I said, I've seen him wrestle Hogan
Yeah.
a couple of times. So yeah, I know him and Hogan.
Yeah. Kamala, a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Q, who's your number 2?
Well, that's easy. The Undertaker.
Okay. I thought he would be your number 1. But,
You said favorite, and so that's the funny part. Undertaker was my favorite until Kane debuted.
okay.
So, yeah, and then
Jumped
after
off that Undertaker
I had to jump
bandwagon,
off
didn't
that
you?
Undertaker bandwagon. But I mean, you could ask me tomorrow or a week from now and be like, "Q, who's your favorite wrestler?" I'm like, it's probably the Undertaker. Like, it's just
Yeah,
it's one of them
between the
things.
two.
It's between them two, and then
A lot of people are like that. A lot of people like Kane better than the Undertaker.
Yeah, I do. I just maybe because I like to me, Kane was the underdog story. Like Undertaker was the big brother that had made it and was perfect, and
He was the established guy.
Yeah, and Kane was the guy that came in and for some reason could never get out of the Undertaker shadow.
Did you start watching the Undertaker when he debuted in WWF?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, I've been. That's what I'm
So,
saying. I was
yeah.
an Undertaker fan, and then Kane debuted, and I was just like, yeah, I don't even know who this guy is anymore. So, but Undertaker is my second. I don't really have to say anything about that guy. World champion,
Maybe the
tag
greatest
team
gimmick ever. You can
you
make
know
a case
what?
for it.
I think.
You totally can.
I think when it comes to that, that is Vince McMahon's greatest creation. He probably.
Maybe.
He could be up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
He could be up
Yeah.
Probably
I don't think-
McMahon's greatest.
Yeah, McMahon's greatest for real.
But he's up there with the Sheik, with Abby, with Kamala.
I think he's I'm about to say I think he's McMahon's greatest, but as far as gimmicks, he's top 5. He's top
easily.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. Did not make my top 10.
Really?
Because I totally agree that legendary and that this gimmick has endured, but I was never a big fan of this gimmick. I liked it. I had seen him kind of come up through the indies, and in WCW I liked him as Mark Callis.
Okay.
I did not like, and I was not a fan. I mean, you can argue with the other guys that I picked, but I was just not a fan of this gimmick, and especially in the beginning. Later on, I could appreciate it a little bit more. But just as favorites go, I thought about putting him on my list, but I just couldn't do it because he was just never, ever one of my favorites after he became The Undertaker.
See, I didn't like him when he became Biker Undertaker. And don't get me wrong, Biker Undertaker is
I'm
is
with
him.
you.
That's him
Right,
in real
I'm
life.
with
See,
you,
and I
though.
liked that better personally.
Well, I think it was more true to him because that's what it is.
The reason I liked it
So-
was because I thought it freed him up a little bit to do
Yeah.
more in the ring.
Which is what he was fighting for because I
Yes.
think because if Vince would have had his way, he would have been drug out by Paul Bearer like his whole career with the urn and everything.
Probably.
So yeah,
Well,
like
I don't know because they like to. I mean, McMahon likes to change people. You know, as we talked
Yeah,
about with
but-
Kane, and you see it with Big Show, Mark Henry.
yeah,
I mean,
he likes to
everybody,
change
you
people,
know?
but I think back to what you were saying when we were talking off about the crowd.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have changed that gimmick. Remember, not only was the Undertaker over, that urn was over.
Yeah.
That Paul Bearer was over. Like
You're right.
all that was over. Like that was too much, and that was too much merchandise. It was kids buying urns.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine like your kid coming up to you saying, "Can you buy me that urn?" And that's
Right.
in your house.
Yeah.
That's creepy. That's creepy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if you think about it, it was pretty much status quo with them up until the Vince Russo era.
Yeah, when
And that's
that
when they kind of
attitude
started
era,
to like
yeah.
start changing stuff up with them.
But it freed them up, and like you said, it freed them up in the ring because Undertaker wasn't, you know how they call him the best pure striker in the game. He wasn't that when he first got there, because like you said, you know, Undertaker was clunking around the ring,
Yeah.
hitting you
Doing the
with
chokes
with the
and-
chokes and
Right.
the headbutts and the boot, and like even when he would sit up, it was just like, I can't get up, I have to sit up, then I have to get up. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. It probably ended up with a change because Undertaker's like, I'm not gonna wrestle like this for like 30 years. But like, which is funny because now when he wrestles, he looks more like that Undertaker. But
Really.
yeah, but I don't know if it would have changed. But I don't like the biker. But I don't know. You know, shit. Undertaker's my number 2. I understand why he's not on your list. I can see that. But
Brace, was he on your list?
Yeah, he's my number 5.
Okay.
So we'll cover that right now.
okay.
I mean, with the Undertaker though, we're talking about when he went to the American badass biker
yeah.
gimmick. That allowed him, once he changed back, to be over back to the more of
Yeah.
the original gimmick. He was over more
Yeah.
than he was before.
Well, yeah,
and then he
were
could
happy.
still keep some of the
And you could
same
still do
moves.
the
You know,
same.
Exactly.
You're right.
He- you know, so he started working like the Go-Go Plata in there
Yeah.
and all the, you know.
Yeah, all them.
So
but
it helped him
would've-
out big time.
It did because he would have never been able to do those moves if he would have stayed.
Yeah.
Stayed
Yeah.
with the original.
Yeah.
So he started in 1984, and I mean, I guess he's still wrestling, but he's really not active. His career probably wound up like 5 years ago, maybe, as far as being,
active.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he was off the road for a while, you know.
But it's funny because like you'll say the Undertaker's wrestling, and that'll make me watch more than you
yeah.
saying anybody else is
Yeah,
on
a
there.
lot of just to hear,
just to hear that gong.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you know what? That's one of the best entrances that I've ever seen live.
Right.
And it doesn't
And I
matter.
agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I do agree with it. But
Yeah,
And I was gonna say that too because it's funny because WWE, not to backtrack, just had the best entrances with Pyro and Kane's. I thought Kane should have been number 1 because like,
oh yeah,
and because when they stopped using Pyro and they would have Kane come out, it was just like that entrance don't hit
right.
without that Pyro.
yeah, it's a little different.
It's a
isn't it?
little different when you see Kane come out without the smoke.
Right.
But yeah, but no,
Yeah.
the entrance is just and I'm sorry, but when he comes down and you see the wrestlers in the ring and they're selling this omnipresence and they're terrified and
Right.
it takes Undertaker 20 minutes to get to the ring. And then like even what they did without the character, like when the lights would shut off, then they would come back on and he'd be standing behind you.
Yes.
That is a horror gimmick personified.
Yeah.
It is, and it's probably one of the greatest ones ever, and I will agree with that, but it was just my
I know, and
personal
I get
thing.
it. I get it. I 100% get it.
Yeah, and he did have some success in wrestling before he got to WWF.
Yes.
Yeah, he spent 4 years in Dallas as Texas Red.
He was there 4 years?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Wow.
I didn't think
didn't
it was
realize
that long either.
No.
Then went to CWA or USWA, and he was the Master of Pain with Dutch Mantell as his manager.
Yeah.
Dutch Mantell is Zebekiah and
Uncle Zebekiah and
what was his latest one with Jack Swagger? I can't remember.
Oh,
his name now.
yeah, that
already
was
forgot his
Zeb
name.
Coulter.
Yeah.
Which I love that gimmick, by the way.
Yeah.
Jack Swagger's
I did
gimmick.
too.
Yeah, so and kind of like Kamala, he beat Lawler for the USWA belt. He also beat Eric Embry for the WCWA belt in the same year, but that was via forfeit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he had some good stuff in WCW. They really didn't use him as well as
No.
remember we thought they should.
No.
Well, no.
As Mean Mark
they
Callis with the Skyscrapers, and he had a single
Yeah.
run with Paul Heyman or Paulie Dangerously as his manager.
I'm gonna say, he wasn't with the group, but he was with, I knew he was with Paulie Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Undertaker, he's in there. He's my number 5.
All right.
Not to change subject real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to shout out that the Kane gimmick where he will pull people in the ring and then the fire will come out. That's another.
Oh, down into the ring.
Into the ring,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
That's
was
a,
good. That
if
was
you
good.
hear Jim Ross, he's dragging them to hell. He's
Oh,
dragging
yeah.
them. Okay, that was another. I had to shout that out.
Okay, my number 3 is kind of along the same guys we've been talking about. Definitely involved with these guys quite a bit, and it is Mankind.
Okay.
And I did not like this gimmick originally either because I had seen Cactus Jack and I was a fan of Cactus Jack coming up through the indies.
Yeah, same with
So,
me.
so I
That's
didn't
understandable.
like this originally, but McFoley being McFoley, I thought he was able to. And then if you hear about all the stuff that he did behind the scenes, Vince McMahon had original plans for it. McFoley actually spoke up and was like, "Well, I don't really like that. He wanted him to be called Mason the Mutilator or something like that
Yeah.
originally." And he's like, "No, how about Mankind? Because you know it's this and it's that." And he says that he didn't know, and then he gave him the idea about the different music.
Yes, that was ingenious. That was genius.
The entrance music and then the exit music was
Yeah.
different. He gave him that idea. He claims that he didn't know that that's what they were going to do, and then they did it on his debut. So he was able to take this gimmick that I thought was stupid originally and make it into something that was actually good.
Yeah.
And then later, I mean, they changed it around. They
had to.
softened it up, but that led to him winning the world title.
Right.
That was infamous, too.
A few
The
times.
first one.
Yes.
Mankind is
So-
going to win their world title. Don't turn over that channel.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I don't want to spend too much time on him, but
yeah.
so Brace, did Mankind make your?
Yeah,
top 10?
he did, and he almost didn't. But yeah, he was my number 8.
Okay.
Yeah, great job.
Respectable.
Kind of an enduring, yeah, kind of like an enduring character, even through all the changes. I think people still remember Mankind the most out of all the haha and all the other stuff that they did.
Yeah.
Started in 1983, trained by Dominic DeNucci.
Yeah.
He wrestled for a few years there on the Eastern Indies. 87, 88, went to Memphis, CWA. 88 to 91, world class. And that's where he added Cactus Jack Manson to his name. Like a lot, you don't hear that associated with him.
Yeah.
I think in his book, he said he didn't like it.
Yeah.
I remember that from his book. I thought it was cool. But yeah, he pretty much wrestled anywhere that was left before he got to WCW the first time and then went to ECW. I think that's really where he started honing his chops behind the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
his
think so, too.
interviews in the ECW were a precursor and probably better than a lot of the WWE stuff that he did. But he still did great interviews there
Oh, no,
too,
yeah.
He did.
Well, the Jim Ross one was
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, that's kind of really what got him over.
I think that's really what started to shoot him to. Well, that changed him too, because that changed him from the heel to the sympathetic baby face.
Yep.
And I forgot to mention this, but he came right in. I don't know. I'd have to look, but I think he still probably holds the most victories over the Undertaker
I think he does.
than anybody.
Yeah,
Yes,
probably.
He came in as that character for that reason, because they wanted somebody strong to go up against the Undertaker.
And boy, was he strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
91 through 94, he was managed by Harley Race in WCW. He had some like great matches in there, like with Vader, famously got his ear ripped off.
Yeah. Feuded with Paul
And he had a
as well.
good feud with Sting in that one too, didn't he?
He did. He
had a great feud with Sting.
He had some great matches with Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he even showed up in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, one of our favorite of the last dying territories. It was more haha in there.
Yeah, he did.
And he would do some indies against, like Eddie Gilbert, one of your favorites. Well, one of mine too.
Yeah.
Just the blood, hardcore.
That classic series on the indies. Those three big matches in like Joel Goodhart's, what was
Tri-State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he went in Japan and did the stupid death matches over there. I look at him, I say that, not, at first when I saw him, like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like.
They were great. But
yeah. I mean, it just got too old too quick.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mankind, and then once he joined WWF, he's just kind of been there forever, except, a couple years he kind of got out of the business, and then he was in TNA for a couple years, and
No one counts that.
Yeah.
But
except for that one match he had with Ric Flair, that was actually pretty good.
He's definitely he was interesting because, like, he's really a haha guy. He's really like a comedy guy, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But he could do that demented character like perfect.
Well, I mean, let's not. This has to be mentioned when talking about Mankind, the Hell in the Cell match with Undertaker, and getting thrown off the top of the cell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's more commonplace nowadays, where people are taking risks like that. But at the time, that was
no.
I remember like jumping. I remember like I couldn't believe it. I remember exactly where I was when it happened. I was watching it by myself, but I was up at my parents' house, and they were all outside, and I was like yelling out. I was like, "You guys got to come in here and see this."
Man, that match was the reason I almost could not watch wrestling anymore.
Really?
Yeah, like
it was
pretty brutal.
Violent.
Yeah,
it was so brutal. I mean,
like, because as a kid, this is what we were outside wrestling.
Yeah.
So like. Once we seen that match, what's going through every parent's mind.
Oh, yeah.
He's about to go out there and try to jump off the garage or something and do something stupid.
Like he did in his little home
video.
video.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, like, that match was like the
See, he
almost
was a
the reason I
spot
couldn't
monkey
watch
right
it.
from the start.
Man. But I remember that like it was yesterday, and I was just like, that etched in your brain, man.
Right, exactly. Did he make your list, Q?
Number 5.
Okay.
Number 5.
All right. You got anything to add to that
I
part? I think
we covered it all. Yeah, I mean, you can, just nothing. I would say with our little gray area, I think Cactus Jack could have easily been on this list as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's kind of along the lines. He could definitely be along the lines of Abdullah the Butcher type, or the Sheik type, even somewhat.
Yeah.
And so I'll go to my number 4. Because that's a good segue to there, because this is another guy that kind of is in that same vein. I mean, that argument could be made against it, but he's sort of.
Wait, who's your number 3?
My number 3 was Mankind.
Oh, okay. We were talking number 3.
Yeah.
I got you. All right.
Oh, wait a minute. No, so we're going to your number 3 then, right? Sorry, I was thinking we.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll go to number 3.
Yeah, we'll go to your number.
All right.
3. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're gonna like this
got
one.
Lost there.
Number 3, Insane Clown Posse. and I had to, just based on our history with them,
Okay. All right.
Insane Clown Posse wrestled in the Michigan Wrestling Alliance. That was us. National All-Star Wrestling, WWF, WCW, ECW, TNA.
They've been all over.
And ironically, like later on, they weren't as good in the ring as they were when we wrestled with them.
I agree with that. They,
like especially Joe.
Yeah. He got huge.
Yeah, but he could work. He could do all the little detail stuff. But the Insane Clown Posse gimmick, I mean, we were there from the inception of it. Yes. So this is more like a sentimental one, but it's on my list.
Okay.
I say every top 10 list should have a sentimental.
And
pick,
they're like the another evil clown type gimmick.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you have gone on record in the past to say that, and I don't specifically remember this, but I'm not denying it, because there was a time where basically they were at your house and we were sitting there, and I remember this day perfectly, but it was kind of like when they said basically they're done with wrestling and they're gonna focus on the music.
Yeah, they already cut a promo and everything.
And at the time, they were not doing the clown gimmick. They were called ICP, but they were called Inner City Police.
Yeah.
And before that, they were called IC Dog Beats. So you say that you gave them the idea to do the clown gimmick because Doink was around, and you said that you told them that they should paint their faces and be like evil clowns like Doink.
Yeah, and that was, we're just joshing with each other because, they had a police gimmick before.
Okay.
And then, because we were two different groups. They were from Ferndale, Royal Oak, and we're Northern Oakland County, Oxford. So we would just jazz each other because we both had wrestling groups. So, oh, that's a bite off of somebody. That's a bite off. You're copying off somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
And then so I say, hey, you're copying off the Big Boss Man for your for your rap group, and so we're just John, and I'm like, you might as well do like Doink the Clown or Evil Clown or something. I said, I think I said Doink.
Okay.
But and I'm sure that's at least had to plant a seed.
I believe it did.
I
don't remember that discussion specifically, but if
I can picture it right now.
Said,
I remember where we're standing.
Then that had to have because next time we hear of them, they had totally changed it and they were the Wicked Clowns.
Yeah, because they weren't talking about clowns at all. They were kind of going another direction, like a police and military type.
Yes.
To get your royalties. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been saying for years.
Man.
Yeah. So ICP
was your number 3?
Yeah, number 3.
Q. Did ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, make your top 10?
Unfortunately not. My number 3 is the Boogeyman.
Okay.
And the only reason the Boogeyman made my list is for the fact that he bit that growth off of Jillian Hall's face.
That's a damn shame what they did to that woman because she was so nice looking.
So that was the only reason. I mean, it was a scary gimmick. It was a horror gimmick. But even though we all knew the growth was fake, like when he licked it and bit it, I almost threw up for real. So like that, and don't get me wrong, it's just one of those great gimmicks. Like even now when he comes back, it's just like the smoke comes in the room and it's like you hear the drums and stuff. So it's just one of those gimmicks that he could do this when he's 80 and just come out, smash a clock on his head. And
then he eat worms and all that.
Like
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, he was actually putting real worms in his mouth at certain times. So that grossed me out more than that fake growth on her face when he bit that off. But just the idea of it. Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, I was, and then they messed that up with Little Boogie and all that other stuff. But
that was funny too, though. But
it was funny, but it wasn't.
It could only go so far, though.
Yeah, that character could only go so far. So,
but it could have.
But as you can see, like there's a pattern with all the WWE guys that come in there as these monster, horrific heels.
Yep.
Then they have to later on turn them into like a comedy.
Yeah, which is
that's all the writing and the silly and the ha and the writers.
Yeah.
But Boogeyman's number 3 on my list just for the sheer, because like you said, when he first got there though, he was sheer horror.
Yes.
Eating the worms and
the stuff that he did.
he did.
Yeah.
And but it's just when he bit that growth. Oh, to this day, I've never actually seen him bite it off her face.
What do you mean?
Like, so I get to the point where he licks it.
Oh, you can't watch it?
And then
turned away.
I turn every time.
Really?
Every time. I'm 30 years old, and when he gets ready to bite it, I turn away.
Yeah. Now I don't remember it specifically, but
do. I got a reaction. It was like, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah, see, I was at the house. I was just like,
but in my mind, he just like pulled it off, and you could tell it was like a stick-on thing.
Yeah.
I mean, did they make her face up to make it look like he actually tore it off?
Yeah, it looked pretty. It
looked pretty.
No, I mean, after he took the growth off, though, was it just her normal face?
No, there was
still stuff on it. It looked.
Okay. I don't.
They did a good job.
No, yeah. And so it was like all I know is he came up and he licked it.
I remember that.
And then all I remember was it was gone.
Yeah.
I've never ever actually seen him bite it off.
That's hilarious that you can't watch it. But,
No, it's like because when he licked it, I almost threw up. I was like, dude. And even though you know it's fake, it's still just like the prop department did so well on that. It's just like, ooh, no, okay.
Now I will give WWE. He did not make my list, and I did think about it. But here's a guy that was older. He was on Tough Enough, and they were not. I think they got rid of him on Tough Enough because he had lied about his age. He was already in his 40s, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they got rid of him, but then they decided to bring him back because of I think probably because of his attitude and I mean, and his physique. So not the greatest in-ring worker. Obviously, they protected him. They really protected him. I mean, if you notice, most of his matches didn't last very long.
Right.
But gimmick-wise, I think that they, I think they kind of hit a home run for a guy that they knew couldn't work.
Yeah.
But everybody remembers this character and the look of it and everything. So yeah, I mean, he would just be on probably the outside. I mean, I could definitely put him as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they got quite a bit of mileage out of this character too,
and they still
bring him back every now and then and have him show up. So
yeah, I thought about him. He didn't make my list.
All right, so
that's okay.
So ICP wasn't on your list either?
No, I didn't even really think about them. But I could see that where you're going because they did have in WCW they did have the Dark Carnival. They brought in Vampiro and Muda, and so yeah, I could.
And they
I
even
could
did
buy
the
that.
Oddities gimmick there and
Exactly.
WWF.
Yeah, yeah. So I could definitely buy that. But my number 4 is, like I said, kind of a precursor to what the Wyatt family would become later on, and that is Raven. Mainly because he was kind of like a cult leader. If nothing else, they made him like a cult leader type of guy. But again, I mean, not like anybody was necessarily afraid of him, but
he whined a lot,
to change.
Didn't he?
Yeah, that was part of his deal too.
Yeah.
But a guy that kind of came up with different gimmicks and he did more of like a colorful technical wrestler gimmick up until he got signed by ECW. He did Scotty Flamingo and Scott Anthony and Scotty the Body and and then when he got brought into ECW, they made him. And I remember at first, like the first promos for him, I was like, give me a break. This is gonna die because it just doesn't make sense. He's coming in,
right?
But apparently the reason that they decided to do this is because that's how he really was in real life. He was more like that in real life. He was showing up in torn up jeans and rock and roll T-shirts, and that was more of him in real life than the other
spoiled brat rich kid.
Than the other
finds drugs.
Than the other gimmicks.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go over his whole career, but he's had his ups and downs. Obviously, ECW was probably the highlight for the Raven character.
Yeah,
had some success in WCW. Had somewhat success in WWE. I think they could have done more with him, but they kind of stuck him in their hardcore division, and
which they did everybody from ECW.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So anyway, Raven, my number 4. Brace.
Yeah, Raven didn't make my list, but I can see why people would put him on there. You know, just the whole, like David Koresh aura.
Yeah.
I can completely see
it.
that.
I get it. He didn't make my list.
And he played it well.
He played it very well.
And the promos that he did in ECW, I mean, they, and then, kind of like hypnotizing the Sandman's kid, not hypnotizing him, but bringing him into their cult.
Yeah, and he had all the lackeys.
And,
Yeah.
So you had Raven's flock, or was it the nest? I don't know.
Flock.
The flock. Well, one of them was the nest and one of them was the flock.
Oh.
The nest was either ECW or WCW. I don't remember which was which, but it wasn't the same. But either way, they had it was kind of the same thing. But
Yeah, good mind for the business too. That guy.
No, yeah, he's yeah,
Definitely.
but like you said, when he got to WWF, they just
they
you're in ECW, you can.
they claim he's got a very high IQ and a member of Mensa, I think. And I know that they had him on Rock and Roll Jeopardy before when they used to have that on VH1.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, he seems like a media guy to me. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So, Brace, who is your number 4?
Number 4, staying with the evil clown theme, I'll go with Doink.
All right.
Yeah, he was awesome. Doink, his real name is Matt Osborne, wrestled as Matt Bourne, started in 1978, and went to 94, and then just kind of sporadically until 2013. You know, I don't think he's with us anymore. He died not too
passed
long
away
ago.
a few years ago.
Yeah. So 78 to 84, he was in the NWA territories, Pacific Northwest, Mid-Atlantic, Mid-South. He was with the Rat Pack. He really did a lot.
He did.
You know, in wrestling, and really had a good career even before Doink.
Yes.
You know, he needed Doink, I thought. You know, at that
To
time.
be,
Yeah, so 86, 87, he was in World Class. He was with one of your favorites, Buzz Sawyer, managed by Percival Pringle III, who is Paul Bearer.
Yes.
Yeah, had a big match there, Christmas Star Wars versus the Iron Sheik in 1986. Turned Dingo Warrior into a babyface, which was the Ultimate Warrior.
Wow.
He did?
Yeah. Yeah, he was with, because he was in a group with Pringle was the leader, and then Sawyer and Bourne, because
Okay.
Dingo was a bad guy.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that.
So when he got to WWF, it was, you know, when he was another guy went in there and like,
Well,
Clown,
well,
are
right,
you kidding me?
right before that though, he was in WCW as Big Josh.
yeah, right.
That kind of, I thought, rejuvenated his career as far as in-ring work went. I
Yeah,
thought
because he was good.
it was another stupid
I mean,
gimmick.
he was always
It was
good.
another stupid gimmick, but
Yeah.
I thought he did great as that Big Josh character.
They won the
Right.
the U.S. tag team titles in WCW. I forgot about that, as well as
Okay.
the 6-man titles. So
Yeah.
he tagged with Ron Simmons and won the U.S. belts. I
Nice.
completely forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he joined WWF in 93 and was pretty much Doink from then on out.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some, like, he won at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they had Steve Kern come in as another Doink, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, that's right. Who did he beat?
Crush.
Hennig? Oh, it was Crush. Okay.
Yeah, but he
It's
beat
like-
Hennig twice, 2 out of 3 times when they were doing it for, weren't they going for like an Intercontinental? There was something
I
going on.
remember
I-
that. I actually remember that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember he had beaten.
Yeah,
He
there was
beat
something
him. I
they
was
were doing. I
surprised.
can't
I
remember
can't
what they were
remember what
doing
it was
Yeah.
doing, but I do
But he
remember
was
that.
over. I mean,
Doink was over.
He was over huge, and this was the
and they
original.
had to turn him good because he got over.
Yeah, because he was a bad guy at first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Q, did he make your list?
He made my list. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Doink is number 6
Okay.
on my list.
Okay.
So
Yeah, he did not make my list, but like you, I remember, a freaking clown. You know,
Yeah.
because WWE
and
had
all
been
that other-
accused up
yeah.
until that point of turning people into clowns.
Yeah, it was a
So I think
circus.
finally he's
Yeah.
like, calling it a circus. So he's like, okay, here's a clown. But Matt Bourne did awesome with that gimmick. I thought he
it's
did great
great.
with the Big Josh gimmick. He
Yep.
did great with
Yeah.
the evil clown. I didn't like it when they turned him into a good guy
Yeah.
later on.
no.
But that character was awesome, and they made him wrestle. They
Yeah.
they let him like actually be like a decent wrestler,
yeah.
which was surprising, but it was good. And he was all over. I mean, because this was the original, the early days of Monday Night Raw.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's right.
He was just on
Yeah.
on Raw
All the
like
time,
every
doing
week.
Raw.
All the time,
and
yeah.
Just
But he was, like you said, he was so over that he had to be.
yeah.
So
and I can't remember who came up with the gimmick, but I think somebody saw him backstage, and he was sitting there like this, smoking a cigarette, and they were like, or wanted him for the gimmick and they said that he looked like Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons, and that's
that's how he got it.
that's I think that's
Wow.
why he got recommended for that. But something
That's
along
hilarious.
those lines, anyway.
It worked,
But-
man.
It worked.
And you know, if he would have kept his head straight, he probably had a lot longer career with it.
Probably
with that
could have.
Doink.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
probably.
know?
Oh, definitely.
Because
would have.
they had the other Doinks in there, and they just weren't as good.
No,
I mean,
Oh,
Kern was okay, but he wasn't like
no,
Bourne.
he wasn't like
No.
So no, I just never thought Steve Kern was that great. I liked him as Skinner, but
I thought he was a great worker.
I just never really thought that. I don't know what it was about him. He just seemed kind of clunky to me for some reason. I just didn't think he was very.
He was kind of
I just
bland.
didn't think he had very much finesse as far as like some of the other guys. I don't know what it was, but yeah, Doink did not make my list.
Trained in the Eddie Graham school,
but another guy that would definitely be an honorable mention for me. Q, who is your number 4?
My number 4 was, you brought him up, Paul Bearer.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know we were counting managers, but I could not make a list with Kane, Undertaker, and Mankind and not have.
Yeah, I definitely see why you have him on there.
Yeah, I just brought it up the last time, like when he comes out with the pale face, and he's just shaking and he's freaky,
definitely
creepy,
one of the greatest horror inspired gimmicks of all time. Yeah. I mean, he's got to be.
Yeah.
And that was a shoot too. He was like a legit a pallbearer.
Yeah, that was like his profession.
Or not a pallbearer.
He was
mortician.
Embalmer.
Yeah,
yeah, the mortician.
Mortician, yeah.
So that's where they got that out.
That's where they got that, and it was just from there. Yeah.
Did you ever hear the story of them sitting in there, like he's talking with McMahon and Pritchard and those guys, like when they're hiring him in?
That's Go ahead.
He's in the room and they're looking at his resume, and McMahon's sitting there and he's like, no, hey, you see this? You were a mortician? And they're all laughing because they had the idea for the Undertaker gimmick.
Wow.
And they didn't know who to put it on.
And then they put it.
So they had this whole gimmick all thought up.
Yeah. And it just so happened.
And then it just so happened.
In walks Percy Pringle.
The mortician.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. It worked out perfect.
So that's what did it, and it was just perfect.
It was.
I mean, really.
It was
pairing
perfect.
Them together.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was fine as Percy Pringle, but
he was great as Percy Pringle.
He was, but that gimmick really wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I mean, there was a lot of other guys doing similar gimmicks.
The blonde hair manager gimmick with the shiny clothes and the
when he just imagine the moment of when Undertaker comes back and all you hear sees the lights go off and all you hear is him out the blue shriek. Oh yes! And then the music plays and it's just that moment is etched in history and it's because of him. So
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, did not make my list, but it wasn't even anything that I thought about. But I mean, our topic definitely he should be there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I have my moments.
So Brace, did he make your top 10?
No, because I had him lumped in with Undertaker.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty synonymous.
And Kane.
But yeah, I mean, definitely one of the best.
Maybe the greatest manager of all time, if you look at it from that perspective.
If you look at it from that perspective, I always put him in my top.
I mean, you could say Heenan and Cornette and whoever else, but I mean, as far as what people remember,
and he was another guy that probably when they gave him that gimmick, he was probably like, okay, if I can get paid for this for a couple years,
whatever,
that'll be great. But I mean, that endured for almost just as long,
forever,
man.
Yeah,
because
they killed him off. A couple times.
Yeah,
but then he came back.
Yeah, it was still one of them ones where when the Undertaker came back, you were like, "Is Paul Bearer with him?" Because you look forward to seeing Paul Bearer just as much as you wanted to see the Undertaker.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah. They finally took Paul Bearer. He was off TV enough where he kind of went to the legends section and not like the average or the active
superstar
section.
All right. Yeah. Hey guys, we're gonna have to speed up this a little bit, so we'll do our top fives, and then we'll just we'll have to run through our 6 through 10s real fast.
Okay.
So my number 5 is the guy that's been mentioned already, and this is another guy that I was kind of like iffy about, but I felt he had to be here, and it's Jake the Snake Roberts. Because I went back and forth with this for a while, but definitely, one of the greatest gimmicks that's out there, and not necessarily a horror gimmick, but still horrific elements. I mean, just him coming in there with the whole snake deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, I mean, even people that quit watching wrestling, that's just one thing that people will always remember.
Yeah.
And just the way, I mean, he was already called Jake the Snake, mainly because of the way that he kind of like moved in the ring and because he was tall and thin. But then adding that element to it when he went to WWF, I think really just added a whole new element to his character. Behind the scenes, they say he's one of the greatest minds in the business as far as wrestling psychology goes. Another guy that they keep bringing back. Thank God he's still with us, because if you hear about some of the stuff that he did, in his personal life, I mean, and he makes no bones about that either. But he's a guy that has endured through all these years. I'm not sure if he's still working indies or not, but I know he'll still like show up. On cards, but I don't think he wrestles on the cards. But Brace, did Jake the Snake Roberts make your?
No, he didn't. But I could see like why he'd be on there. You know, I mean, just like the lasting impression that guy left on.
Yeah.
Like if they never would have turned him good, he could have.
Oh yeah.
He could have been like he's still considered an all-time classic heel, but he could have been on. He's not on that Sheik level.
Yeah, like a
you know,
Sheik
like
or
like a Kamala or
DiBiase.
Abby or somebody.
Right.
Even like a. But he was right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew what the heck he was doing. That's for sure.
Remember when he had the snake in Miss Elizabeth's
Oh yeah.
the wedding gifts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they brought the Cobra.
Yeah,
later on.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
he-
And the
when he
Cobra's biting Savage's arm.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I never knew how they did that, but it turns out that he just really let him bite him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was devenomized, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember,
Nice.
like, I was always trying to figure out how they did it, and he was just like, and I guess when Randy went back, he's like, "That's how you get an angle over." You know? So,
Well, Snake
yeah,
had
he
to,
actually
Jake the Snake
did.
had to show Savage that there was no venom in the snake, and it.
oh yeah, he made him bite him first.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
he put it
Savage
on
would
his
do it.
leg,
Yeah.
before
Wow.
Savage would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake, all-time classic.
Did he make your list?
No, but
Okay.
yeah, he was just one of those ones that I wasn't sure about. So.
Okay. Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, he's all my guys really so far have been kind of like, you can go either way with them.
Yeah.
Hey, the Snake helped get the original Sheik over too. He used to carry.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
snake.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the well, we'll get to that later if we got time. But who's your number 5?
Well, my number 5 was Undertaker.
Okay, so
We already talked about him.
so you can go to your who's your next one that we haven't talked.
Road Warriors, and they're kind of like an iffy deal, but they were
Okay.
made from the Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
You know, and that
so-
was they were supposed to be evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Post-
totally.
And really,
yeah.
talked about the Undertaker entrance. The only one that I would rather see like over that is like the old school Road Warrior entrance with Iron Man when they had like the real
Ooh.
spikes and everything, and
Yeah.
like every once in a while, like a long time ago, you get some fog that they came in with, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
man, they were over. They were so believable.
Man.
Yeah.
They
Well,
were
so over even
they
like-
were monsters.
Yeah, no, yeah. You,
You
know,
know?
Yeah.
they call it the biggest pop. When you get a big pop, it's the Warrior pop. They were so over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Road Warriors are on number 6.
Okay.
So,
Q, did they make your list?
no, they did not make my list. It was another
Yeah.
one of those. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about those guys, but definitely
Yeah.
I could see that. They were the only ones really doing that. I mean, because they definitely were supposed to be the post-apocalyptic
Well, yeah.
guys. Later on, you had Lord Humongous stolen right from the Road Warrior wrestle
Yeah,
a
he's
little
on
bit
my
too. But
Outskirts
okay,
looking in on that
yeah,
one.
mine too. Q, who's your number 5?
We talked about a Mankind.
Okay, so give us the next one on your list that we haven't talked about yet.
My number 7 would be The Brood, Gangrel.
The Brood? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
about him too.
Yeah.
All the
So-
blood and everything, drinking out of the
Oh
goblet.
my god! And
Yeah.
I was just telling them it just sucks that he was relegated to shotgunning.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because that was an over gimmick, and they could have did more with that.
they could have.
I didn't put him on my list. I think I originally had him on, and then I had to take him off, and I put him in my honorable mentions. But
Yeah,
but
me
yeah,
too.
That was
Yeah.
a great. that
And
was a
like
great
when
gimmick.
they first started, how the Brood would put people in the bloodbath and
Yeah.
drop the
Yeah.
the lights would go off, and then you would wait.
Yes.
The lights come on, and everybody's like drenched in blood. It was the coolest thing, and still one of the best entrances coming through the ring of fire up through the stage. That's some nice stuff.
Yeah, and then just the visual of him like standing on the stairs, drinking the chalice of the blood running down his shirt. I mean, that was great stuff.
I almost thought he was better by himself than with
Edge and Christian.
I liked him.
And
I mean, that's why I started liking Edge and Christian. But
unfortunately, they looked at it as those guys kind of overshadowing him.
Yeah.
And so that's why he kind of went down, and then those guys kind of raised up.
But we were talking about that earlier. A little bit ahead of his time, probably.
Yeah. I think so
in
too.
some ways.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys caught this, but I will say this: his gimmick was who I talked about, the Apocalypse and Destruction, or it was a Destruction or Demolition. I don't remember, but that was the Blackhearts tag team. And he was I don't remember who the other guy was, but he was one of those. And before that, he was the Vampire Warrior.
Okay.
Before he became Gangrel.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's right.
So, all right, we're running low on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through the rest of my list, and then we'll just run through the rest of your list real quick. So my number 6 is Mortis, which is another one. I mean, it was more based on a video game, but he had the skull and he had the skull staff, and I really liked that gimmick, but more specifically, I was a big fan of Chris Kanyon. But they could have done more with that as well. Unfortunately, they just, it was all just made for Glacier to get over.
They would have been better off putting him on one show and letting him grow there, because how many people can you get over at one time?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They were, they have all these guys. They have Ernest Miller come in, and they have Wrath come in, and they have Glacier come in.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Vampiro. Wrestled in Mexico. Well, I think he started in Canada, went to Mexico, eventually made his way to WCW. Still a big part of Lucha Underground. Vampire gimmick.
Yeah.
Another vampire gimmick. And
really.
And I mean, they didn't really push the limits of it, but he was just supposed to be a vampire.
Yeah, I thought of him too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much he didn't know when he was making all that money and anywhere he went. I mean, it's unreal.
Right. My number 8 is Ricky Banderas, who's done a few horror gimmicks throughout his career. Judas Macias, most notably in TNA. They brought him in as the Sinister Minister, James Mitchell, Daryl Van Horns. I think
that was another guy.
I don't know if he was supposed to be his son, but they came in for him to feud with Abyss. It was kind of short-lived, but I really liked that character. And then more recently, he was in Lucha Underground as another horrific character named Mil Muertes, a masked character. Okay. My number 9 is Papa Shango.
Nice.
Which another gimmick that I hated, that I didn't care for in the beginning, but it won me over. I thought that they could have done more with that. And I personally, I thought that was his best gimmick. I mean, obviously,
it was good.
He did Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine, and probably his biggest, most notable, and most popular gimmick, the Godfather.
Oh yeah, I think they just had too much of those gimmicks going on at that time when Papa Shango was in there. Yeah. I mean, he was different, but he kind of got lost because they had, it was a full circus there, if you will.
Well, that was the time they had all those out of the ordinary gimmicks.
Yeah. And my number 10 is a guy based on Beetlejuice movie, the juicer Art Barr,
nice.
who started getting a big push in WCW, but apparently he had some trouble with the law outside of. He was like huge. I mean, as far as the kids go, and the gimmick was good. I thought his wrestling was solid. But anyway, that's my top 10.
Beetlejuice Art Barr.
Yeah. Let's get but they had to obviously call him the juicer when he got to WCW.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I have my 9 and 10 left.
Okay.
So my number 9, Chainsaw Charlie. Even though he wasn't around, that was Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't around that much, he did a great job with it.
Yeah,
and
he did.
He's one of my favorites. He was there for really a year.
Yeah,
he had another WrestleMania match. He had WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 14.
They did win the tag team belts, right?
Yep. Yeah, and then they lost him the next night. I like Kane,
that next night.
So
stuff.
Chainsaw Charlie, Terry Funk, one of the best of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
Terry Funk
kind
is
of a Michael Myers
Terry
type
Funk,
gimmick
Funk's
there.
Terry
one of the
Funk's
best
in
of
my
all
top
time.
3 of all time.
Yeah,
wrestlers.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
or not Michael Myers, a Texas Chainsaw
Come
Massacre.
Yeah.
Leatherface.
Yeah, and number 10, this is kind of a sentimental one. I have a couple of them in here. The Executioner, Terry Gordy.
He actually did a decent job.
Yeah,
as that
he did.
character,
Oh, no, yeah.
But it was short-lived. But
Yeah, Terry Gordy, one of my favorites of all time in tags and as well as singles, was in the WWF in '86. Brought in by Paul Bearer to go after Mankind. So, and he did have a couple pay-per-view matches. He got squashed by the Undertaker in his last one. So, but that was my top 10.
Okay. I have 8, 9, and 10 left. Is Woken Matt Hardy. And I don't know why. I just maybe only because that's probably a little bit more sentimental with me too. Because I've been waiting for Matt Hardy to develop a character that could stand on its own.
Yeah.
And he finally got one.
So as far as horrific though, so he was just kind of supposed to have like lost his mind. And
Yeah.
Because I have
sorta,
no
like,
idea
crazy,
about this
but-
character.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of like a
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it, but I just
Yeah.
didn't know what the catalyst was. I didn't know how
Yeah.
it started. But-
yeah, like he's woke.
Okay.
Like pretty much that right
Okay.
there.
All right.
And then number 9 is Bray Wyatt from
Okay.
the Wyatt family. And
Yep.
then number 10, my number 10 was Sting.
Bray
Okay.
Wyatt's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of him, but I've only seen him.
Bray Wyatt was, he's like how we were talking before. I don't know if Vince just don't want to put the belt on him because he don't think he's championship material. But like Bray Wyatt, and then like I said, my number 10 was Sting.
All
Of
right.
course,
Just
Scorpion Sting.
Yeah, just one other thing that we should mention that I have on my honorable mention list, but I didn't get to see enough of it until now and gone back, but that is the devil worshipping gimmick of Kevin Sullivan and the Dark Army, which was pretty controversial in the 80s. So much so that people still believe, because of that gimmick, that Kevin Sullivan is the one that actually murdered Chris Benoit and his son and Nancy, because he used to be Nancy's husband.
I can't believe anybody
But
thinks
there's
that.
still people that believe that to this day, and I got to attribute it to
Jeez.
that devil worshipping gimmick that they did
Really?
back in the they did it in Florida.
Well, even you had relatives close to the wrestling business, and they did it.
I think she was now that I'm older, I think she was just trying to work me.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure that she was just
Yeah, they're a
Which-
photographer.
which
is that
most-
what is?
Yeah, Eddie Cheslock is my cousin's husband, who was like a big photographer for the After magazines back in the day. Q, what is up with Comics Beer and Sci-Fi, and anything else that you want to plug real quick?
No, nothing. We're just on hiatus right now. Getting some things together for the new season coming up, and look forward to putting out new episodes and new content very soon. Actually, we put out a couple of new things on the YouTube.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and check that out at Comics Beer and
Are they
Sci-Fi.
previews, or are they just kind of little standalone deals?
No, we've still been going to a lot of Comic Con. Like we went to Michigan Comic Con in downtown Detroit. Still got some stuff from Motor City Comic Con and Monroe Comic Con and Great Lakes Comic Con. So yeah, we got a couple of things out there.
All right.
Just working our way back to the CW, just getting all that together.
How do we find that?
You can go on YouTube, Comics Beer and Sci-Fi
Okay.
on YouTube. You can go Comics Beer and Sci-Fi on Facebook and on Instagram.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining us once again.
Always a pleasure.
Brace, any parting words?
Oh, everybody, have a good night. Q, thanks for joining us again,
No
man.
problem, man. Anytime. I would love to come back.
All right, take
We'll
care,
have you on
everyone.
again in the future. Everybody, as always, just keep checking the Butch Blood Facebook page for future updates. I do think that already I can give away a minor spoiler for our next show,
All
and
right.
it is going to be, well, I won't give away who the guest is going to be, but we are going to be discussing Halloween Havoc #1. I don't remember the year, but anyway, everybody take care and have a good night.
Have a nice day.
Brilliant job, Mad Dog.
Thank you.